Hi and welcome to the favorite video of the month, my finished pages from January 2026. If you're new to this channel, hi, my name is Ina. If not, welcome back. In January, I colored a total of 13 pages across 11 different books. And I colored one double page spread. I set the books aside briefly and then we'll get started. I'll begin with Ivy und der magische Schmetterling, or Ivy and the Inky Butterfly by Joanna Basford. This is my project book and I'm coloring it from front to back. The page I worked on is this one. Unlike the winter pages I colored in January, this one has a distinctly spring-like feel. I used a mix of Castle Art, Soft Touch and Harmonious pencils. And for the background, soft pastels. I also used a gold and white gel pen, as well as a neon orange one. My plan for this month is to color the next page using the same colors. I also want to extend the background so that it looks like a beautiful double page spread. This was Ivy and the Inky Butterfly by Joanna Basford. Next is my body color for the month, from Die Magie der Natur or Nature's Magic by Stratton Peterson. It feels like it's been ages since I colored this page. Together with Selena Moonlight, I colored the Spiritual Cinnamon. This magic crystal ball, or fortune teller's orb in the center, was a lot of fun to color. Let me show you Selena's version now. Her orb turned out in a gorgeous orange, and the dark areas give it a real depth. It looks amazing. Thank you, Selena, for the body color. Here I use the Castle Art Soft Touch pencils, a silver and metallic blue gel pen, as well as a green one and a gold one, and my Posca marker for the highlights. That was Nature's Magic by Stratton Peterson. Next is A Million Little Monsters by Lulu Mayo. By the way, most of the books coming up were chosen by a random generator at the beginning of the year. In this book, I colored the cat here with the stacked cups. For the background and as a base layer, I used watercolors. And then I colored over it with the Castle Art Soft Touch pencils. For the embellishments, I used a silver, a gold and a metallic blue gel pen, along with my Posca marker. Thanks to the watercolor base, the colors turned out beautifully vibrant. The texture added to the paper also helped the colored pencils adhere better. That was A Million Little Monsters by Lulu Mayo. Next, I colored a page in Welt der Weihnachtswichtel, translated to World of Christmas Elves by Christel Vogel. I colored the woodcopying page. I wanted to try something different and decided not to color the snow in bluish-purple hues. Instead, I gave it a subtle peach tone and colored the sky to resemble a winter sunset, since the sun is relatively low in this image. I used Castle Art's watercolor pencils as the base and layered over them with soft touch pencils. For the background, I applied soft pastels and added some sparkle for the trousers and the scarf. Then I used a silver gel pen for the glasses and my white Posca for the snow. As always with Christel Vogel's books, I also colored the small motif, where I used a gold gel pen in addition to the same materials as on the other page. That was Welt der Weihnachtswichtel by Christel Vogel. This book, just like the next one, will only be used again next winter, at the end of the year. I'm actually quite glad about that, because I've gradually had enough of coloring winter pages. However, I still have this one to show you in Mein Winterspaziergang by Rita Beermann. This double-page spread was also chosen by a random picker. At first, I had no idea how to deal with all these patterns. In the end, I decided to color them in instead of simply coloring over them. Since I wasn't exactly sure how best to color the patterns, I used Castle Art's metallic colored pencils on some of these big trees. Then I used Castle Art's gold pencils and a few from the Harmonious set. For the snow and the white lines, I used my Posca marker. Soft pastels for the background, a silver gel pen for the snowflakes, and metallic watercolors for the snow on these trees. In the end, I'm really happy how this page turned out. Considering I didn't like these doodles that much, I'm quite satisfied. I've now colored 20% of the pages in this book, making it the book with the highest completion percentage. If I reach 25% by the end of the year, I will make a video about it. That was Mein Winterspaziergang by Rita Beermann. Next up is Seasons by Hannah Carlson. And in this book, I colored this page, the Fallen Stars page. This page marks the beginning of the winter section in the book. And I really love these pastel shades I used. I also made a video if you would like to see how I color the page. I link it here. Again, I used the Castle Art Soft Touch pencils. Soft pastels for the background, my white Posca marker, a gold and anthracite gel pen, as well as metallic watercolors in gold and silver. That was Seasons by Hannah Carlson. Next, I continue with another page for which I also made a video, specifically the video on how I draw and color soap bubbles. This isn't actually a proper page, but rather the test page for pens or other materials. Here I showed you how I created the soap bubbles on the butterfly page. And since I colored this small motif and also drew soap bubbles all over the page, I count it as a completed page. After all, I did color a small motif. If you're interested in how I drew the soap bubbles, feel free to watch the video. For the whole page, I used the Faber-Castell pastel colored pencils and my Posca marker for the white highlights. That was Small Victories or Kleine Wunderwelten by Joanna Basford. By the way, the video was made in response to a request in the comments. So, if you'd like to know how I color something specific, or if you have any other questions, feel free to write them in the comments. Then I worked on my last whip, which was still left from the autumn challenge. I colored a page in the Deco Time coloring book. This page here with a little mushroom house. In this book, I'm trying to use up my old, poor quality colored pencils. So I didn't have a large selection of colors here. However, I actually really like the result. The colored pencils are all no-name brands. And for the background, I used soft pastels. I'm glad I colored all the pages I've shown you so far first, because the last two planned pages took a really long time. This way I knew I didn't have many pages left and could still manage to finish them. If I had colored them first, I probably would have worried the entire time that I wouldn't be able to color nearly as many pages as I have planned. Okay, the next book is Kingdom of Curious Creatures by Kanoko Igusa. Here I colored this page with a painting rabbit. For the base layer and the brick wall in the background, I used the Castle Arts watercolor pencils. And then I colored over it with the soft touch pencils. And I also used some of the Harmonious set, especially for the gray and this mint shade here in the background. I really love how colorful the page turned out. Just looking at it makes me want to start coloring right away. For the books here in the background, I also used a few metallic gel pens in silver, green and gold. And I used a white gel pen for the highlights on the paint splatters. That was Kingdom of Curious Creatures by Kanoko Igusa. Now I'm moving on to the last planned book, Dark Art Nightmare by François Gauthier. In this book, I colored the page featuring the crocodile, the great white shark, the piranhas, the eagle, and the pike. Shading all those crocodile scales individually with up to 4 colors takes forever. I spent half the month just on this page. But it was a lot of fun coloring such a slightly creepy page. It was something different. Here too I used the Castle Arts watercolor pencils for a base layer for the crocodile and the shark. And then I colored the page mainly with the soft touch pencils as well as the harmonious pencils. For the background I used soft pastels again and my white Posca marker for the foam on the waves. Then I used a red gel pen for the blood and I used a white gel pen for the feathers, the teeth and the highlights everywhere on the wounds. That was Dark Art Nightmare by François Gauthier. After finishing this page on the last day of January, I actually managed to color a page in Boule de Poire by Diane Dufort that evening. It's this one with the polar wolves, which I colored for a hashtag related to this book. For the base layer I used Castle Arts watercolor pencils. And for the colors I was inspired by an image from Elm Colors. She had colored a completely different picture using these colors but created a similar sky. And since I really like the colors, I decided to use them on the rest of the picture as well. These are all Castle Arts Harmonious pencils. And for the details I used my white Posca marker, the silver gel pen and a shimmering metallic watercolor. So, what are my favorite pages of the month? Definitely the horror page, because I spent half the month working on it and I think the result was totally worth it. I also really love the colors of the polar wolves and the pastel shades in season. Which page do you like the best? Feel free to write it in the comments. I hope you enjoyed the video. See you next time. Bye!